Good afternoon, everybody. You're welcome to today's TBC session, and I'm really excited to have you here. And I hope you're here with an open mind to learn. Please, we're going to be giving 5 minutes more to those people that are running late. We don't want anybody to miss anything at all. So we'd start by 3:05 p.m. on the dot. That's when we're going to comment. So please come in, feel relaxed, and anticipate what today's session holds. See you by 3:05. Thank you.
Requirements of my engagement requirements instead of leaving them. I won't be that from last session. Do you agree?
On the chat box, you can introduce yourself, your name, where the organization you're with or something. Just feel free, introduce yourself. We have about 4 more minutes to have other people join us. Thank you. It's nice to see a lot of people introduce themselves on the chat box. I encourage us all to do that too. Just your name, where you're chatting from, or where you're joining from, and we use that to buy time while we wait for others to join. Okay, welcome everybody. I see you. Welcome. We still have more people joining us. I can see Olua Shea here. Thank you for joining. Femi Obidari, thank you so much. Akinwumi Akinola, thank you. I can see Stephanie Adaku joining from Edo States. Oh, lovely. Welcome. Please feel relaxed. Um, I can see Dr. Shegi Lola from Ogun State. That's lovely. Um, I can see Michael Adele from Lagos State. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining. I'm really excited to see us all here, and I hope you're also excited to be here because, I mean, from the topic alone, you can tell that today's conversation is going to be really, really engaging, really, really exciting, and really, really insightful. So um, it's good to see you all here. We have just about a minute to kick off. From my own end here, I can see that more people are joining us. Please, when you join, you stay because our facilitator is ready. We are ready to have you. We are ready to have this wonderful conversation with you. Okay. Okay, it's 3:05 now, and um, within the space of 5 minutes, we've had more people join us, and it's really encouraging. We're going to start now. Thank you again for joining today's TBC session. For those of us that will be joining for the first time, I would like to reintroduce what the TBC session is all about, and let us know who is actually championing this. Okay, so the behavioral code is a hybrid learning and engagement session that has been developed by the Behavioral Insight Network of the PIC. Now, the Behavioral Insight Network is a community of practice under the Behavioral Innovation Lab, a unit under PIC, Policy Innovation Center. So basically, what this session or what this series is designed to do is to basically explore the relevant and practical application of behavioral insights to everyday human experiences. So we examine common practices in human behaviors, like decision making, like habits, like motivations, like relationships, like emotional responses, all of those things you can actually think of. We examine those patterns, and then we offer evidence-based perspectives. And these perspectives are basically on how we can use small strategic changes or nudges to improve the outcome of people's everyday life, their personal life, their professional life, every aspect of their life, basically. And this TBC session, which you're a part of right now, has actually been designed to facilitate or to improve the lives of our community members. If you remember earlier, I mentioned that we have a community of practice. It is called the Behavioral Insight Network, and this TBC session has been designed for them. But the very good news is that it is not just restricted to the community members. Okay, it is accessible to diverse audiences. So if you're here and you're not a part of the community, don't feel bad about it at all. After this session, after our facilitators speak, I'll also come up again to tell us more about this community of practice and how you can be a part of us. So the audience for TBC is for our community members and for you, anybody that is actually interested in how they can grow, how they can know better about behavioral science, behavioral insights, innovations around human behaviors, and all whatnot. This session is for you. So we're going to be kicking off right now, but I have an icebreaker for us. I have an icebreaker for us. I'm going to be sharing it right now on the chat box. Just click on it quickly and please participate. Please participate. I'm clicking on it as well, and I'm going to be reading it out. So our topic today says the herd mentality. I don't know. I'm very certain that this is not the first time you're hearing this. Okay. So we have the herd mentality as our topic today, the dynamics of following the crowd in businesses and life decision making. And this topic was handpicked especially for you, for us to have conversations around why people follow the crowd. So the icebreaker question here, if you've clicked on it already, it says, when last did you do something just because everyone else was doing it, even if you weren't sure why? Like you just made a decision and you don't know why you made that decision. So when last did you do something like that? I want to know. We're gathering this information, this statistics for our community members as well to improve and nudge them. Okay, so we have options like last week, today. I don't. Someone can say can choose. I don't do anything because others are doing it, which I'm so proud of you. I don't know. And then we have last month. We have during the week. So we also have so often that I can't even remember. Just click on it. I want to be seeing your responses. And when I come back here, I would when I come back here, we would share the results, the responses that we got from this icebreaker. Please be honest. It is strictly anonymous. We would not know at all. Okay, so At this point, I would like to introduce our facilitator. I would like to introduce our facilitator. He's already in the room. He's really excited to be here. And his name is Niyi Adekonla, and he's the senior behavioral economist within the Behavioral Innovation Lab of the Policy Innovation Center. He's really, really excited to be here, and he has a tank full of knowledge. Feel free to pick from it, learn, have your notepads, take your notes, and prepare your questions. Of course, prepare your questions. We want to know your thoughts. We have answers to your questions. I mean, I believe we have answers to your questions, and we're going to answer them together. Someone says they're yet to see the link to the icebreaker. I'm going to share it again. Didn't share it again. Okay, so at this point, I would like Mr. Nee to please come up and take over this session. Thank you, sir. If your hands are not too busy, you can just drop an emoji, a clap, an emoji, or whatever. Just encourage him as he comes up to talk to us. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Rebecca. I'm so excited to be here, honesty. Of course, this is one of the things that I've really, when it comes to behavior, this is one of the things that has really got me excited as far as this job or career is concerned. And when I got the topic, I felt, wow, this is one of the things that we should do, most especially at a time like this when we have a lot of things up our sleeves, taking our attention and all of that. And then every other reason to join the crowd, to do so many things, get our decisions influenced in so many ways. So thank you so much once again, Rebecca. And then I also want to thank you, Rebecca, because you just stole my first question I wanted to throw out earlier, and I'm so glad that you're already taking care of that. So once again, my name is Nia Adekola. I'm a senior behavioral economist within the Policy Innovation Center, and specifically Behavioral Innovation Lab. So while I share my slide, I'm so glad that when it comes to the subject at hand, I'm so glad that it is something that we all can practically relate with, despite the seemingly sounding technical word, like as it were. So even at that, I believe the fact that it's something we all would enjoy together right here. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir, we can see your screen clearly.
I want to set it so slide mode.
Okay.
Okay, can we all see this? Is it already in slide mode, right?
Yes, it's on slide
Okay,
mode now.
okay, okay, great. So, today the subject or the concept before me, or the topic I'm going to be speaking to, is around the dynamics of following the crowd in business and life decision making. And speaking of that, I'm going to be as fast as possible, and at the same time, I want us to get engaged. So we'll run through our outline. So specifically, I want to lay context around what healthy behavior actually means, most especially from our context in Nigeria. And of course, it's interesting to know that it's a phenomenon that is global, most especially when it comes to behavior, our disposition to investment decision, our disposition to personal relationship, our disposition to relating with people and different rungs of social life and all of that. Then after that, I will lay foundation around the key drivers of earning behavior itself. So what by that we want to know why people behave the way they behave as far as earning mentality is concerned, and most especially how behavioral science is quite relevant to the subject in question. So after that, we conclude with the strategies, the strategies that we can use to be able to manage or harness hidden behavior. I did say that I deliberately put it as strategies to solving hidden behavior, because in itself, hidden behavior is not entirely a problem as it were, which is what I'm still going to be speaking to as we move further. So that said, like I mentioned earlier, I appreciate Rebecca for helping me to take care of this part. So, and I believe the fact that one of the things I heard when Rebecca mentioned this is the fact that someone mentioned, I can't even remember the number of times that I followed the trend. And by the time you look at it deeply, you will discover the fact that most especially our social design, it simply leads us to one thing. We just want us to, at least in the minimum requirement, to act as in an acceptable way, to act in a way that people will not make us to become the black sheep in the fold. So that said, uh, the context in question is this. Number one is the fact that it is expected for us naturally by design to play by the rule. It's just that don't come and act as if you are the one that know it all. That is how the society wants us to feel sometimes. And in this, it means that what it leads us to is the fact that if the system tends to reward you and give you a social badge for for playing or staying in the status quo, it just wants you to know that if you are able to play by the rule and sync yourself with the vogue, there is nothing. The only thing you can do is that just stay in the whole thing, just stay in the air. And then the other side or the flip side to this is the fact that same society would applaud you if you stay ahead of the herd. What that means is that if you try as much as possible to want to play it differently as a rule of the game, and then not vary from what the head or the interest of the head, but you are ahead, you are dictating the direction that the head moves. So this society will applaud you. Now, the next part to this is that there is a quest for safety. An average human being want to feel safe, an average human being, because of the fact that you want to identify with what is popular. So we find safety in identify with what is popular and attestation of our social design, because that is how it works. Because more often than not, as long, like I mentioned earlier, as long as you can do it the way it is done, then you are fine. And then the other part to it is that people listen to you, no matter, even if you are a fool, as long as you can make the loudest noise, a response to noise. So it makes you to say that by time, but including brand, who is loud enough as far as this age is concerned. If you are a brand, you have a business, and you can make the most noise. Technically, they will put it as you are engaging your audience. It is what they want to hear. Whether you are doing what you are supposed to do or not what you are supposed to do, that is what the society, that is the social design of the society. And before I move further, while I move further on the other part to just set the context, is another thing around the fact that you have to learn how to master the head. That is what is required. That is what it means for us for survival. The war of business survival today in the contemporary world shows that people have to become the more your ability to uh, identify collective interest. That is the first thing, and sustain attention of key stakeholders to your business, to your brand, to your individuality as a person. The more you are able to survive in the fold, in the head, as they are speaking to head mentality. And in addition to that, as far as the market is concerned, the market is engineered for addiction. What that means is that the contemporary business environment is intended to make you addicted to what is offered. What that means is that they want to capture your attention. And what it means that the more people that the market is able to catch their attention, uh, the more it is able to win. So the moment you are in the head, there is no way you will not be part of what we are talking about, the head mentality. So that said, lastly, the digital loop, like I mentioned. So still describing what is obtainable out there as far as what we are saying is concerned is about the fact that we're in an age where every viral information has the potential to influence our decisions, including investment decision, The moment everybody buys the idea and share the information on the next to the next person, nobody has to enter your DM before it begins to affect how you see things, the lens from which you see. So that said, and that leads us to what exactly then is ad mentality. It is something from all I have established so far, you will discover the fact that there is nothing I've mentioned that sounds unnecessarily esoteric or something too difficult to understand. It's something that we relate with every other day. Now, what is the earth mentality? Before I talk about the definition, I remember earlier today, I was driving out of my estate, and I discovered something that in my estate, of course, there are POS vendors and all of that, all over the places, both at the front of the gate, and then there's the shop section of the in the estate. And I discovered all of a sudden today, I just ran, stopping on another person joining. I was like, so are these people not getting tired? How much are they making of this POS thing? And how many people are in the estate that every dictum and narrators have to open a POS, what's it called, business? And that just dawned on me on the fact that, you see, herd mentality is all over the places. And by definition, most especially as far as behavioral science is concerned, it says that it occurs when people feel they are behaving correctly, when they act as people around them. I just want to survive. I just want to be able to move with the status quo. I just want to be able to recognize as doing what others are doing so that I will not be marked out. So the more people following an idea, what it means is that the more people following an idea, the truer it is perceived to be true. What that means is that the more your followers on the social media, whatever you say holds water more than whomever or your contemporaries I don't have as much followers. Whether what you said is true or not, there's a way that, of course, there are two things that can happen. Is that you have many people that will throw you under the bus, or you have so many people that will align with your line of thought. So not necessarily because your opinion ticks all a moral box, but just the fact that it resonates with what people are looking for, expecting. So act mentality it mimics group behavior. It helps people to feel safe, and more specifically, not necessarily in a negative form. It's we want to make to people to be more efficient in what they do. And the beautiful part, the ugly part to it, let me say it that way, is that it suppresses individual judgment. It just says that your opinion does not matter. This is what people believe. You just have to accept it. So when businesses adopt similar strategies, for instance, investment or practices others are doing, rather than based on their own data or evidence. So businesses, most especially your small businesses today, you just discover the fact that people just want to regurgitate or replicate strategies, not minding whether this has been tested or relevant to their context. So that is earth mentality playing out, or earthen behavior, as the case may be. So that said, one of the proponents of earthen behavior is Ash. Solomon Ash. That was in the 1950s. He performed an experiment, and what did he do? He had about 5 or 6 people. So what they were doing was that they exposed okay, 6 people specifically. So 5 of the people, what they were seated, and then the sixth person, or yes, the sixth person happened to be the one that is innocent. So they called those ones that were aware, those that were aware of the experiment, they call them stooges. What that means is that they know what they were expecting. It's an experiment. You just want to test how conforming people can be. It's a social experiment. And what did they do eventually was that they placed 2 different mirrors side by side, and the one and the left side, which is what I'm put my arrow on, my cursor on here, as that it's a single figure, or see a single shape, just the way it is as you're seeing on my screen. And then the other side, which is the right mirror to the side, they have 3 different shapes. So one of them aligns with the shape in the left side, which means that the line in the left side. So Ash now asks the question that he asks everyone that which of the lines A, B, C conforms or aligns or is the same size with the line in the other side, which is the left side. And you know what? I haven't planned it. The first person says B. The second person said B. The third to the fourth, and then the fifth, which is the innocent person, said also said B. This experiment was repeated about multiple times, and they discovered at the end of the day, 75% of the time, the innocent person in question, falls in line, despite the fact that he could see what was before him. So what we are establishing here is the fact that it is natural by our design to follow suit to what others are saying, just because you don't want to you don't want to be the one that should be the black sheep in the fold. That said, I'm going to be mentioning specific examples of a herding mentality, and then on both sides, I will be linking it to both the positive and the negative, and most especially as far as both personal and business decisions are concerned. That's it. The first thing, if you look at the wave of the technological waves over the time, the thoughts and every form of the industrial revolution, most especially uh, speaking of the phone, if you look at the different waves of phones, most especially, you will discover the fact that it is so natural that even businesses, corporates, the different corporate organizations, there's a way that when they don't follow the Jones, when they don't align with the Jones, there's a way that they fizzle out. Look at the case of the Apple and then the BlackBerry. It shows uh, uh, at some point, uh, this guy says the Apple guy says Steve Jobs. He said something that what we are doing now is that we don't want people to be too glued to their iPad, to their pads rather. That means the scrolling pads manually. We want it to be that we want to give an experience to an average user of a phone to be able to align seamlessly to every app out there. If you are going to have an app, I don't want it to be such that until you are able to type physically with your phone, just type directly. I want you to be able to to have an experience entering the app you are using. And that is what brought about a uniqueness to what iPhone did. And as against what BlackBerry, what back then, I discovered that, then if you are not using BlackBerry, you are nowhere to be found. And one of the things that really marks out a big boy or a big lady rather, then was that if you have a BlackBerry, I remember then when I was able to, was it X2 or that was it X2? That was BlackBerry. Very, very well. The work that was in part two. I managed to get that BlackBerry or more. If you see the extent to which I got some attention, and lo and behold, all of a sudden, you just discover the fact that the moment iPhone and an Android got into the market, everybody, the edge moved to that direction. And back to BlackBerry, they were not able to catch up with the new wave. And that was what brought about how BlackBerry fizzled out. We all understood what's it called? We're all aware of this news, or let me say of this story and all of that. The same thing applicable to Nokia. As a matter of fact, I can remember then the Symbian OS back then. By the time you pick one Symbian phone then, Symbian phone or Nokia phone then, you are just this natural what's it called standard that comes with it that you just feel that you have arrived. But the moment Apple, iPhone, and Android stormed the market, the story changed. And that is what we call corporate heading. If you are not able to strategically flow, as most especially small businesses, to flow with the wave, with the current wave, it becomes a problem. That is the season, that is the period where everything is not a problem. So it is important for you to be able to know that what is the next one. If you are not able to champion a wave, the next thing is that you should understand every stage at which there is a turn in the wave to be able to catch up. So that's it. The same thing applicable to different economic bubbles that we got. The crypto market. I remember then in 2022, 2017 to 2021, 22, every dictum and Harry that you see that is spraying or that was spraying money on in any show. Just the moment the person will not tell you that if he's doing it from if he's getting it from fraud or not, the person will tell you that he's getting it from what's it called? It's getting it from crypto. It's getting it from forex and every other thing. I remember the moment the bubbles burst at that time. Most especially, there was a time in 2022. I was a victim. I discovered that I traded stock, specifically Solana, and all of a sudden I just discovered that around November there was a lot of bubble that got burst at that time, and I lost a lot. I have already gathered about 100 Solana then. I just units of Solana, and it was sold at a point at $50 per Solana. A lot of money to at least compared to what we are talking about today. If I have them, if so, my point is that as of that time, in the twinkling of an eye, between in 2 minutes, I just wanted to say, let me just be patient a little before I left the market. And before you say, Jack, everything, the price just got down. I got stuck and I couldn't leave, hoping that it will rise. And before you say that, things happened. The bubbles burst. So many other things. Speaking of real estate, speaking of so many, of course, when it comes to real estate in a place like Nigeria, real estate is one of the safest, so to speak. I'm not trying to advertise, so don't let me stay too much on that. So that said, the same thing applicable to fashion trend. I remember when we were much younger, you just discover the fact that during the festive season, your parents will buy a type of cloth that is trending. It's just the way it is. Nobody will enter your DM to tell you that you should buy it. But by the time you see so many things on the market, that is when the market controls your mental or your psyche to be able to get attuned to what is in vogue, what it is, because you feel safe, you feel the fact that you are accepted among the people, and it will determine so many things in a family in such year that they can't afford that kind of cloth. It becomes a clothing of fashion, it becomes a problem. And lastly, speaking of education, there was a time in this country that in Nigeria specifically that there was a scarcity of what's it called of private secondary school. All of a sudden, most especially early 2000s, all of a sudden, private secondary schools were just coming up. And before you say, Jack, today, if you enter a particular, in fact, we might even have, I don't have the statistics here, we might even have more private secondary school, both the efficient one and the other side, those on the other side. You can even have more of them than what's it called, than the private secondary schools. So than the public secondary schools rather. So my point is just that what that suggests is there is a response when something is in demand, when it is popular, people naturally gravitate towards it. And to establish it is not entirely bad. And that is exactly the more reason we are here today, to be able to know when do you enter a wave, when do you identify with the air, when do you leave or get out of the wave when it's about to go down. So that is why we are here. So um, all of this, I cannot exhaust this topic without mentioning the quick reach system, most especially as far as Nigeria is concerned. Very quickly, I want to share a story. Um, I think during around 2008, that was the time. I think yes. Then, as a young man, I just wanted to. There was this okay. I thought it was Pennywise. There was this quick reach was a program that was done then, that was floated then, and you know what? I just wanted to. I think it was Pennywise. So and everybody was cashing out. I was like, what's going on? I know. I just discovered at some point. I just met with my headest. I told them, hey, please, I had this 4,200. I want to put it into reach, and whatever will happen, please. Let me just put it. Let me just do something. And before you say that, I don't know. Maybe I didn't have that luck, so to speak. It was my turn that the programs crashed. And this is very typical of so many people as far as most especially investment landscape is concerned in Nigeria or decision is concerned in Nigeria. Most times this is because the truth of the matter is that as a result of some speculative frenzy, you see people putting it online and all of that. Oh, this is the happening thing and all of that. Investment just leaves you so many people at the end of the day wounded just because of the fact that they were not able to enter the wave at the right time. This is not to say that I'm preaching the quick rich system. It does not help anybody. You can get cash out, you can get it anytime, you can get the advantage. But at the end of the day, it leaves so many people wounded than those that eventually got profited out of the scheme. So that said, it is typically driven by untamed appetite for investment risk, the cookery system. You don't discover that people just want to put every other thing. By the time you have the first taste, you just want to do more. Then, of course, so many people will be misled as a result of that because of most especially the early payout. I remember the MMM thingy. At some point, you will see people act. There are different languages they will use. They will just tell you that there's no way this one cannot crack. This one has this bulletproof and all of that. So in order not to waste time, I want to ask if you are familiar with some of those things and you have been there before, that you got into some of this quick rich system because of the fact that someone you know has been there and got early payout. You can put it on the chat box if you are there. Rebecca, you can help me when I'm done with the presentation to just so that I can know people's pulse or reaction as regards this. So CBEX, the most recent one, the same thing applicable to rate. And you see, at some point, I went to the page of Pennywise back then. That was around 2020. This was 2020. Some of the responses of people. Someone says, I actually invested all my savings with them and that's not been opening. That is the website. That is what people would say at the end of the day, because you just want to identify with the vote. You just want to be part of what is happening, so to speak. Then Pennywise Wealth Management left with my school fees. Imagine. It is that's risky. And then it just suggests the fact that people can go anywhere as far as risk is concerned when they are able to see that people are already jumping on the boat or the train as it is moving. So all of this suggests one thing. It is important for us to understand why people succumb to other mentality. What drives this behavior? What drives this behavior? So the first thing is this: conformity bias. Like I have been mentioning, an average person, it just shows that everybody want to align your thoughts or behavior with the majority, with the group. It's called group thinking. It is affected by your understand your attitudinal response to what is perceived to be socially acceptable, either at the organizational level, at the individual business level, in fact, including decision on some specific areas of people's lives. This very bias it thrives on authority bias or messenger effect. I don't want to speak too much technical terms, but what that means is that when you see someone that is an authority that is probably identified with this system, whether by ambassadorial, what's it called, brand assignment or whatever it is, just identify with it. You just automatically want to accept without having to make your own findings. The same thing applicable to messenger effect. By the time someone recommends, which is very related, when someone recommends someone that you know, that you respect and higher authority and recommends something, then you automatically take it. You don't want to question what is obtainable, what is the right thing. And that leads me to one thing to conclude this part, is that every precarious investment wears a cloak of it will never fail. This one, it can never fail. That is why it becomes so difficult for people to pull out or not to want to jump in, rather. So that said, the next thing that really drives Eden behavior is this fear of missing out. Oh, people are doing it. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. How am I good? If I don't do it, it becomes a problem. And the same thing related to loss aversion. The principle operates on the fact that the pain of losing money, for instance, ought twice as much as the pleasure of gaining it. What that means is that if I lose money today, that is, I don't get involved in this kind of what's it called, of investment, You will have that mental account of how much you will have wasted or probably lost as a result of not getting involved. So, and then what the principle is saying is that that pain, that effect, that feeling ought to, as twice as the fact that when you get in at the end of the day, you even gain. So that is how it works. And then, in addition to that, is the problem of over optimism. People just feel that there's this way they overestimate positive outcomes of an investment. You and then at the same time you are underestimating the risk. You just feel that your eyes is on the fact that, oh, this what this investment will give me, not necessarily the risk that is at stake. Then lastly, the so-called fallacy. This specifically affects those that have already jumped in. You are in an investment stream, and at that point, most especially because you are falling victim of the first one, the same thing applicable to betting, and then all these get rich quick systems. By the time you lose the first tranche of money or investment, you want to chase your losses. That is what it means. You want to chase your losses. You just begin to chase after what is not there. And before you say that, you get sinking in the boat gradually. And the more you get sunk, you don't want to lose, you don't want to leave. That said, how do we now harness the Eden? How do we harness Eden behavior? You remember I said with I mentioned something very critical earlier, that Eden behavior in itself is not the problem, but how you manage it. Most especially when you rely on specific rule of thumbs that governs behavior, or even your group behavior or group thinking. The first thing is that, you must you must ensure that you adopt strategic heading behavior. What that means is that it must be strategic. It must focus on competitive imitation. For example, as a small business today, if an average business is not on the internet, or you don't adopt technology advancement, if you automatically feel left out. So in that case, you can adopt workable or contextually relevant technology. The next thing is you seek an independent opinion. Don't ever get yourself in the route of, oh, the person that is marketing me for this business is still the same person that is offering an authoritative opinion or expert opinion on the so-called investment alone. Get out of it. For example, there are platforms today that the moment I hear about an investment, the first thing I go to check is, what is the Naira Land saying? What is happening on the social media? Who are falling victim of this kind of investment? Sometimes it helps a lot, because some way, somehow, either the same investment or related investment model or business model, some people are falling victim. And a lot has happened. It helps you to understand the investment model, to be able to disentangle yourself from emotion. And lastly, pause and reflect. Pause and reflection helps you to debias your natural biases. Like we learned last week, the last series about different biases and all of that. So it helps you. There's a 24-hour rule that I would recommend, that if you want to hear something, just take yourself, your mental acumen away from what you have heard completely. Then, so that you become more objective about what you are doing, to use give yourself that 24-hour rule of thumb, and dissociate yourself from impulse, so that at the end of the day, you will discover that the kind of decision you make from such an investment or even life decision will help you with the bias, so many things from your personal opinion and all of that. So that said, in conclusion, in both business and life, success often comes from knowing when to stay with the herd for safety and when to rise with the tide. What that means is that you learn to stay with the herd, when to stay when it is still hot, and then when the tide has changed, you need to flow with the current and leave what when you are supposed to leave. And lastly, I want to say that according to Somerset Maugham, he says, if 50 million people say something foolish, it is still foolish. Don't ever fall victim of the game of number. Thank you. Over.
That was really amazing, Mr. Nee. You would agree with me that we've learned so much within these few minutes. Those were really insightful words. I mean, from the comment section alone, from the chat box, the ideas that are dropping, the engagement is really mind blowing, and I'm really excited about that. It is to show that a lot of people have learned. It shows that a lot of people are willing to learn and to change or to have some form of behavioral change concerning this head mentality thing that has been happening around the society. So at this point, please, if you do have a question, I would like you to drop them on the chat box. I would pick them out. Our facilitator is going to help us answer them. Would help us answer them. And meanwhile, I have a poll question for us. I'm sending it to the chat box right now. Please just click on the link and just pick your answer. It is going to help us in our data collections as well. We want to know why a lot of people behave in some certain manner. We want to be able to identify why they behave in that way. We want to know what influences people's decision, mostly when they're unsure. So please just click on the link and participate in this poll question, please. I'll give us a time. I'll give us a few seconds, few minutes to do that while I share a little story. So I attended a wedding celebration, wedding party some time ago, and in that party, I saw a lot of people spraying the celebrants money. Now, you would agree with me that the spray of money during events, in fact, is abuse of naira, it's abuse of our currency, right? But a lot of people they were doing it. I, for one, I like to abide by the books. I like to obey rules and regulations, and I didn't even come there with money to spray because I mean, send the money to the person's account, to the celebrant's account, something, or use the money to buy a gift, something. That was the thought I had. But coming to that event, I saw a lot of people spraying money, dancing, like going to spray money on the celebrants, the bride and the groom. You already know what I did. There's no point saying that. I mean, I quickly had to, talk to the people changing money and all whatnot, and I followed the crowd. So you would agree with me that, in fact, it is not really, it's not that deep. You don't have to try to have a deep thought towards this head mentality thing. It is something that sometimes you just do it. Even while you leave the office now going to work, you might follow a route because you see people following there, not because it actually leads to your house. You just say, oh, I think this road, there's a problem here. Let me just follow these people and divert to something. So, yes, thank you so much, Mr. Nee, for this wonderful, wonderful session. Okay, can we say that? Can we say that this meeting is an example of head mentality? That's from Shegilola Oladejo. Is that a question? If that's a question, I think Mr. Nee, please, you can take a time to look at the chat box to know what people are saying. We have someone say, yeah, how can someone know when they are just following the crowd instead of making their own decision? So please, you can take that question first before you answer. Can this meeting be an example of head mentality? Thank you. Well, take it, please. You are encouraged to drop your questions. Please just drop your questions. Uh, Senior behavioral economist here, Mr. Nee, is going to help us answer those questions. Over to you, Mr. Nee.
Okay, so the question says, how can someone know or when they are just following the crowd instead of making their own decision? The truth of the matter is that uh, when a decision is informed externally, you know what, you know it. Most especially because of the fact that how many of us have seen this? That when you click on an advert using your phone or whatever it is, the algorithm automatically brings similar products to your face. And before you say, Jack, you are already thinking that that product is something that you need, is something that you want. And before you say, Jack, you are from want, it becomes a need to you. Now, that is the point where you pause and reflect and ask yourself, what is informing this question? What is informing this decision? Is it because I saw it from somewhere, or is it because of the fact that it is a need for me? Because at the end of the day, if it is not individually influenced, it must come as an intrinsic decision. So when you check yourself and say, okay, as far as I'm concerned, is this in alignment? You ask yourself, is this in alignment with my personal goal? So that is why it is important as one of the factors or one of the ways where you can harness other behaviors that you first check yourself, what I'm getting myself into, is it in alignment with my personal goal, my strategic organizational goal? So if it is not ticked, if that box is not ticked, then you say no, no. So that is why you begin to know that this decision is something that is influenced by the crowd, not personal interest. I don't know if that speaks to the answer or the question rather.
I hope that answers to the question. We have another question at the Q&A session. So I'm reading it out now for you, Mr. Nii. The person says, the facilitator has said herd mentality isn't always a problem. So the person wants to know, in what context is it okay to follow the crowd? Then let me read the second question again so you can just give the answers together. As a content creator, if I don't use an SEO, it will affect my visibility. But most times, it's not what I want to say or do. How can I fight this system? So these are the two questions we have here. Then,
Okay.
sorry, we have a question. Um, the, another question here says, can you explain more on the loss aversion as a driver of herd mentality?
Okay, so three questions. So I'll speak to them now, but in case I forget any of them, you can just remind me, Rebecca. So the first one is saying, in what context do you follow the crowd? So now, like I mentioned, so for example, let me speak to an organizational from the organizational position. There are times when you follow. That's why I call this strategic heading. You follow what is already working. So there is no way, of course, people will say there is nothing new under heaven. And then there are technologies, there are approaches, there are techniques or methods that have worked from different climes or different contexts or different or similar contexts or similar organizations. You look at them, you can adopt such a thing. That's why I called it corporate heading or strategic heading. So you look at it, most especially like I mentioned, it has to be in alignment with your strategic goal as an organization or as a small business. And that speaks to the next question around, I think, around the fact that the issue around the fact that you see, whether you like it or not, as an individual, that is the individual life now. As an individual, there is nothing you experience in life that someone had not been in that same shoes at one point or the other some time ago. So that is where the case of mentorship, the case of coach or coaches, or whatever it is, or coach system comes in. So what you are expected to do is that it is not because you want to follow the crowd, but because of the fact that you have seen some things worked in some system or framings or circumstances before. Then, if you have something close to your own circumstance, then you can begin to adapt. Don't forget, you are not entirely regurgitating what has been done, but you are adapting into your own personal life with your own decision or business decision or investment decision. For example, if yet another Ivy League organization have done something before, you ask yourself so many questions before you begin to adopt such a thing. Most especially if you are a small business, you compare business skills and so many other factors. For example, human resource portfolio or capacity of your business. So many things have to come into play before you can begin to say that, okay, this is the time for me to say that I want to follow a business, I want to follow the crowd. And then I want Rebecca, please, could you please repeat the question on the SEO?
Okay, the person here said that as a content creator, if I don't use an SEO, it will affect my visibility. but most times it's not what I want to say or do. How can I fight the system?
How can you fight the system?
Yes.
And the person says it's not what she wants to do, he or she wants to do.
Not what she
Oh,
wants to
okay.
do.
So here you are. Social what's it called? Social engine optimization. It's important. Like you agree with me for most especially for a startup or for a business that you have not gotten that visibility. But sometimes it is true that yes, algorithm can bring your page to to the places that might not necessarily represent what you intended to do. But of course, I'm not an expert in this area. But what I would say, most especially from the behavioral point of lens, is the fact that you see there are different alternatives to this. What you should what you should look into is that what are the existing alternatives that can give me that organic followership, for instance, that can give me the right what kind of content can I shoot out that can really expand that visibility for me as a business. So if you have been able to answer those questions, or who are the people that I can meet, as it were, that have done this in the past, like I mentioned earlier, so that I can focus on the context of what we are discussing. So, what are the people that have been in these shoes before? How have they been able to overcome that kind of challenge in their business? I do hope that that speaks to that question. Then, lastly, the person's asked that what can you explain more on the loss aversion as a driver of herd mentality? So, what loss aversion is saying is that the perception of loss carries more weight than the gain. If I want to make an investment decision, for instance, now, if I'm going to, I want to estimate how I want to have a mental account of how much exactly am I going to lose, not necessarily only focusing on how much I am going to gain. Because whether you like it or not, if you are distracted by the gain outcome or the positive outcome of your business alone, it becomes an issue because as at that time, a critical assumption will have been made which might leave out the risk implication or your risk management portfolio as of that time. So that is what loss aversion is telling you, that to say that it is important for you to look at, to weigh both your strategy. You're saying cost benefit analysis, to weigh both your cost and your benefit at the same time. Don't lose touch of your cost at the expense of your benefit. I do hope that speaks to that.
Yes, it does. I think it does speak to that. Thank you so much, Mr. Niyi. Thank you so much for this very insightful session. I don't know, I'm just thinking, do you have final words for this session, just to wrap up a summary that you can just give us in about 1 or 2 minutes? More or less, I could take home if anybody hasn't taken anything home already. I mean, I have so much that I've learned, and I have so much that I'm taking home to go and implement and use. So I don't know, just give us a summary. Thank you, sir.
Okay, in one breath, you see, if you have not heard anything from my mouth since morning, here it is. Other behavior in itself is not a problem, but your inability to be able to strategically maximize it. That is the most important thing. So please, as you do make business decisions, as you make personal life decisions, learn from what has happened, learn from what people have done. You can, in fact, sometimes it is not out of normalcy to say that you want to volunteer in organizations as to be able to get that experience, as it were. If it is something that has stood the test of time over the years. So, to conclude, once again, healthy behavior in itself is not a problem. It is harnessing it appropriately that is the most important thing. Thank you. Over.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nee. So the hidden behavior or the hidden mentality is not an actual problem. It is how you harness it, is how you use it, is how you implement it. So in as much as we know that a lot of people are doing this, and it makes them not to or it makes them to be very dependent on other people, this is more or less like this session is more or less like a cue for you to shift the focus, like use this head mentality to your own benefit positively. You should also try to be independent in your decision making, in your businesses, your personal life, everything that has to do with you. Okay, so thank you so much again, Mr. Ney, for taking out the time to um, talk to us about the head mentality. So quickly, I'm going to run us through what, for those that did not join when I was giving an introduction of what the TBC session is. It is a hybrid learning session that has been curated by the Behavioral Insight Network under the Behavioral Innovation Lab of Policy Innovation Center. So we actually, this TPC session has a growth path from the floor membership, which is open-ended, is open to everybody. All you have to do is just to register. I'm going to share the link right now. You click on the BIN community link to join our community, the community of practice, where we use behavioral insight, behavioral science to advance our everyday life, for our personal life or professional life, and every other aspect of our life that you can think of. We also have um, in this community, like I said, we have a growth path, and the what is required of you to join is to just join, actually, to click on the link and join. When you're in the community, you gain access to webinars like this, you gain access to the BI course, and okay, give me a minute to share the link to join the community, so that as I'm talking, we're just going together. So you click on this link that I'm sharing on the chat box right now to join the community if you're not already a member of this community. And in this community now, you, like I said, you have access to TBC sessions, other activities that is ongoing in that community, and you also have access to the LMS course. Now, this LMS course has been carefully prepared and curated by the Behavioral Innovation Lab of the Policy Innovation Center, and this course has lots of sub courses on introduction to behavioral science, behavioral insight for anti-corruption, behavioral insight for accountability and transparency, behavioral monitoring and evaluation for behavioral change intervention. A lot of courses, sub-courses that would be really helpful to you. And the very good thing about this LMS course is that it is completely free. All you have to do is to click on this link I'm sharing with you right now, take the course, and keep your certificate, because in our growth path of this community, it gets to a point where you have to show your certificate from the LMS course and show a confirmation that you've joined at least 6 of these TBC sessions. So this is our second one from the launch. We had one last 2 weeks. This is the second one. If you're just joining, this is your first. Please keep a record of the fact that you've been able to join, because it is from this this whole stage that you grow or accelerate to what we know as the community member. You become a bona fide community member, and in this part now, you have access to membership certification. You have bi-monthly experts in resident sessions. You have quarterly hangouts, and in fact, there's a whole lot. I would not like to unwrap all that we have in store for you, because it's not for everybody. So it's for people that have joined the community. So this is your cue to actually join the community. I would like to take a minute to go back to our poll question. If you've not clicked on this poll question, please do. Some of us here said what influences our decision, mostly when we're unsure, is because we're doing what others are doing. Some other person said it's a good feeling. About 3% said from their gut feeling, rather, they just go with what their mind is telling them. Some say it's from past experiences. So because of what you've experienced in the past, you tend to just maybe because she had missed out from an opportunity that actually did scale through. When another opportunity that looks like it come up, you just decide to go with it. And while others, the most response, the highest response here is that they actually take advice from other people. That's what really influenced their decision. So this is it. Please, if you haven't clicked on it yet, I would encourage you to do that. With this, we've actually come to the end of today's TBC section. It was really insightful. Thank you so much, Mr. Nee, for taking out the time for encouraging us, for giving us meaningful insight on how we can use the head mentality to our own advantage to scale our businesses, to improve our personal life, and to improve all that has to do with us. I'm encouraging all of us here to please look out, be on the look for. There's going to be a, the recording of this session is going to be shared on our community. It's going to be shared on our community, so you can have access to it. You can go and recap and relearn. You can also share with your family members as well. Like I said, it is open to everybody. It is free and it's open to everybody. Thank you so much for taking out the time. And I really hope to see you in our next TBC session. We have so much in store for you, so much learning session, so much learning series. And I know that when we go and after about 6 of our sessions, in fact, you will be so interested to move on to the next part in our growth path. So thank you so much for taking out the time to join us, and see you in our next TBC session. Bye.